The topic for today's discussion is Japanese encephalitis. It can be also pronounced as Japanese encephalitis. It is viral zoonosis. What is zoonosis? Zoonosis, it includes different diseases or infections which are primarily seen in animals, but these infections or these diseases can be transmitted to man. The definition of zoonosis is given by Joint Food and Agricultural Organization and Expert Committee of World Health Organization. And zoonosis, it is defined as those diseases and infections which are naturally transmitted between vertebrate animals and man. Types of zoonosis includes anthropozoonosis, zooanthroponosis, and amphizoonosis. Anthropozoonosis, where diseases are transmitted from animals to man, whereas in zooanthroponosis, diseases can be transmitted from man to animal, and in amphizoonosis, transmission of diseases or infection may occur in both direction, that is either from animal to man or from man to animal. Regarding etiological aspects of zoonosis, these zoonoses may be of viral origin, bacterial origin, or of rickettsial origin, or even zoonosis may occur due to fungi, helminths, or protozoa. And based on etiological factors, we call zoonosis as viral zoonosis, bacterial zoonosis, rickettsial zoonosis, or parasitic zoonosis. As far as Japanese encephalitis is concerned, it is viral zoonosis. In addition to Japanese encephalitis, you should know other diseases which belongs to the category of viral zoonosis. It includes cowpox, monkeypox, Easter equine encephalitis, yellow fever, Lassa fever, Ross River fever, and the most important one is rabies. As we are calling these diseases as zoonosis, so there are certain animals which play important role in these viral zoonosis. Cattle play major role in cowpox. Monkeys, they are the principal animals which are involved in monkeypox and in yellow fever. Rodents, they are mainly involved in Easter equine encephalitis and they are also involved in monkeypox. The important animals involved in rabies, it includes dogs, foxes, jackals, mongoose, bat, and out of these, dogs are principally involved in transmission of rabies in majority portion of the world. Similarly, for Japanese encephalitis, wild birds, they are the principal animals which are involved in transmission. In addition to birds, animals like pigs, they are also involved in transmission of Japanese encephalitis. Let's see introduction to Japanese encephalitis. Japanese encephalitis, one part we already said, it is viral zoonosis. Another important thing to know about Japanese encephalitis is that it is vector-borne disease, and the vector which is involved in transmission of Japanese encephalitis is mosquito. So we can say Japanese encephalitis is mosquito-borne encephalitis. It is caused by group B arbovirus or flavivirus. Since it is a zoonotic disease, it mainly infects animals and incidentally man gets affected. When infected mosquito bites to human, the group B arbovirus or Japanese encephalitis virus is introduced. Initially, it replicates in regional lymph nodes, and finally this virus invades central nervous system through circulation, and invasion of central nervous system, it results in encephalitis. To repeat, we can say Japanese encephalitis is mosquito-borne encephalitis caused by group B arbovirus transmitted by Culisine mosquitoes, and clinically it is characterized by encephalitis. Let's see problem statement of Japanese encephalitis. Japanese encephalitis, it is leading cause of viral encephalitis in Asia, and the disease is reported from 24 Asian and Western Pacific countries. Japanese encephalitis, it is mainly reported from Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan, Vietnam and other countries. But in some countries like Japan, Korean Peninsula, the incidence of Japanese encephalitis is reduced, and this is because widespread practice of immunization. As far as seasonal relation of Japanese encephalitis is concerned, the transmission of Japanese encephalitis, it is mainly seen during rainy season in Southeast Asia region. Regarding rural and urban distribution of Japanese encephalitis, transmission of Japanese encephalitis, it is mainly seen in rural areas, specifically where agricultural practices are related to flooding irrigation. What is annual incidence of Japanese encephalitis at global level? At global level, annual incidence of Japanese encephalitis, it varies from less than 10 cases per 1 lakh population to more than 100 cases per 1 lakh population. As per recent estimation, near about 68,000 clinical cases of Japanese encephalitis occur every year, and mortality is up to 20,400 deaths, or 20,400 cases die due to Japanese encephalitis every year. What age group is most commonly affected at global level? The most important age group which is affected in Japanese encephalitis is children less than 15 years of age. And this age group is mainly followed by another age group where people above the age of 60 years are mainly affected with Japanese encephalitis. So to recall, we said the high risk for developing Japanese encephalitis at global level is seen among the children below 15 years of age and the population above 60 years of age. Even during major outbreaks of Japanese encephalitis, the age group which is most commonly affected, it includes children between 2 years to 15 years of age. Problem of Japanese encephalitis in India. In India, Japanese encephalitis is reported from different parts of the country, but there are 21 states where Japanese encephalitis is found in endemic form. And in addition, every year outbreaks of Japanese encephalitis are reported from certain states. For example, these states includes Assam, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal and Tamil Nadu. Whatever cases occurs in India, about 80% cases they are reported from the states where Japanese encephalitis is endemic. In the year 2017, maximum cases were reported from Uttar Pradesh and the number of cases were 693 and the deaths reported from Uttar Pradesh were 93. In addition to Uttar Pradesh, the problem of Japanese encephalitis, it is mainly seen in Assam. In Assam, in the year 2017, 604 cases were reported with 87 deaths. In India, during the year 2017, total number of provisional cases reported was 2180 and total deaths that were reported due to Japanese encephalitis in the same year includes 252. But remember, in India, Japanese encephalitis, it is reported under the umbrella of AES. What is meaning of AES? AES is abbreviation which stands for acute encephalitis syndrome. In the year 2016, total 11,651 AES cases were reported, and out of this 1,676 cases were of Japanese encephalitis. Till August 2017, total 6,939 AES cases were reported, and out of these 1,015 cases were of Japanese encephalitis. In this map, you can see different regions or different states in the India where Japanese encephalitis is found in endemic form. Epidemiological features. Causative agent is JE virus. It is group B arbovirus. Belongs to the family Flaviviridae. And since we are calling it as arbovirus, it is transmitted by vector. JE virus, that is Japanese encephalitis virus, it is capable of infecting man as well as animals and birds. We can say there are human hosts and there are extra human hosts for JE virus. Extra human hosts, they mainly includes animals and birds. In nature, we can find two basic cycles of transmission. One cycle, it is pig, mosquito and pig, and the second cycle is ardid bird, mosquito and ardid bird. What is meaning of ardid birds? These birds, they belong to the family Arididae, and this family includes those birds which have long neck and long legs. The examples of aridid birds mainly includes herons, egret, and even ducks. We said two cycles: animal, mosquito, animal. The important animal involved is pig. So the cycle becomes pig, mosquito, and pig. The second cycle, it mainly includes bird, mosquito, and bird. The birds which are mainly involved are aridid birds. So the cycle becomes aridid birds, mosquito, and aridid birds. Now you know that among the animal hosts, pigs are the most important vertebrate host for JE virus. It is important to know that in some areas there are 100% pigs which are infected with JE virus. But majority of infected pigs, they do not show manifestation of the infection. Thus, though pigs are infected, they do not show overt manifestations of the disease. Now, what is significance of infection of pigs as far as JE virus is concerned? It is very important to understand that though these infected pigs, they are not showing clinical manifestations of the disease, but they act as amplifier host. What is meaning of amplifier host? Amplifier host means a host in which infectious agents multiplies rapidly and it is present in higher concentration. You can imagine the scenario: the infected pigs where JE virus is present. This virus is rapidly multiplying in these pigs, and these pigs, they harbor huge number of JE virus. And when mosquito feeds on infected pigs, mosquito gets infected, and thus the cycle, it begins from infected pigs where the virus is transmitted to mosquito. Now mosquito is infected and this infected mosquito transmits infection to other pigs. This is the first cycle: pig, mosquito, and pig. Don't forget here the amplifier host for JE virus. These are pigs. We said the infected mosquitoes, when they bite to pigs, they gets infected, and further they can transmit JE virus to another pigs which are natural hosts. But there is other possibility that these mosquitoes, they may bite to other animals like cattle, buffaloes, or horses, and they can transmit JE virus to these animals also. But cattle, buffaloes, and horses, they are not natural hosts for JE virus. The second cycle, it is maintained between birds and mosquito. We said these are aridid birds. Examples includes herons, egrets, ducks, and even sometimes poultry. These birds may be involved in natural history of JE virus. You know that JE, that is Japanese encephalitis, it is mosquito borne disease or it is vector borne disease. Let's see details of this vector mosquito. There are two tribes of mosquitoes. One is Anopheline and second is Culicini. For Japanese encephalitis, Culisine mosquitoes plays important role. There is possibility that JE virus is also transmitted by some Anopheline mosquitoes. But the most important genus involved in transmission of Japanese encephalitis is Culex. And there are 3 species which are involved in transmission. These species includes Culex tritaniorhynchus, Culex vishnui and Culex gelidus. Out of these, there are 2 important vectors in South India. It includes Culex tritaniorhynchus and Culex vishnui. Culex mosquitoes, they are mainly zoophilic. They prefers to feed on vertebrate host, and for breeding they prefers rice fields. Rice fields, it is the common and important breeding place for Culex mosquito. The extrinsic incubation period for JE virus inside Culex mosquito, it includes 9 to 12 days. What is meaning of this? Once the female mosquito gets infected after feeding on the host harboring JE virus, or after feeding on those hosts which are in the stage of viremia, within 9 to 12 days the JE virus multiplies, and within this period the mosquito becomes infective. How infection is transmitted to man? Generally we said in nature the transmission cycle, it includes pig mosquito pig and bird mosquito bird. But sometimes these infected mosquito, they may bite man, and when these infected Culex mosquito, either Culex tritaniorhynchus or Culex vishnui or Culex gelidus, it bites to human, JE virus may get transmitted to human. Thus, human transmission, it occurs due to bites of female infected Culex mosquito. Is there any possibility that the persons infected with JE virus can transmit infection to another human host? Simply, is there possibility of man to man transmission? What is your answer for this question? Yes, you are right. There is no man to man transmission has been reported. This is because man is incidental dead end host. So there is no possibility of transmission of JE virus from a case of Japanese encephalitis to another human host. Let's see Japanese encephalitis in man. The exact incubation period is not known, but probably it varies from 5 days to 15 days. After infection, majority of cases, they show inapparent disease, and it's about only a case which may show clinical manifestations of Japanese encephalitis when there are about 250 inapparent cases in the community. So, Japanese encephalitis, it is the most important example of iceberg of disease, where the cases of encephalitis, it represent only the tip of the iceberg, and its huge portion with inapparent cases, it is submerged. Clinically, there are 3 stages: prodromal stage, acute encephalitis stage, and late stage and sequelae. The first stage is prodromal stage. Onset of Japanese encephalitis is acute. Duration of prodromal stage is 1 to 6 days, and during this prodromal stage, patient may complain of fever which is associated with headache or gastrointestinal disturbances. There can be lethargy or there can be malaise. The next stage is acute encephalitic stage. Here, fever may range from 38 degrees Celsius to 40.7 degrees Celsius. The most important features that we can see in acute encephalitic stage, it includes fever and there is knuckle rigidity. Even we can get focal signs related to central nervous system, and there can be convulsions. So convulsions, they are suggestive of increase in intracranial pressure. In addition to this, patient may have difficulty in speech, or there can be ocular palsies, or some patients during this stage they may develop either hemiplegia or quadriplegia. There can be some extrapyramidal signs like coarse tremors or altered sensorium, and the cases may progress to coma. Thus, the most important feature in this stage is that patient may develop paralytic condition. First stage is late stage and sequelae. This is generally seen towards the end of active inflammation of brain tissue. Here, at this stage, the neurological signs may show improvement. In some cases, the convalescence may be prolonged, or there may remain residual neurological deficit. Clinically, we can see 3 stages. Prodromal stage, where there is fever, headache, malaise and some gastrointestinal disturbance. This is followed by acute encephalitic stage, where there can be some focal CNS sign, neck rigidity. Some cases may show difficulty in speech, or there can be hemiplegia or quadriplegia, and some patients may enter in comatose condition. After this, some patients may show convalescence. Convalescence stage may be prolonged, and in some patient there may remain some neurological deficits. But the few cases where the progression of disease may be worst and death may occur. In case of Japanese encephalitis, case fatality rate, it varies from 20% to 40%, and generally within 9 days death can occur. How cases of Japanese encephalitis are diagnosed? They are diagnosed on laboratory test. The most important test used is serological test, IgM ELISA. This test detects specific IgM antibodies, and for this we can take either blood sample or we can take cerebrospinal fluid. So 2 samples can be taken, blood or CSF, and the commonly performed test is IgM ELISA. The second test that can be performed is antibody titer test, and for this test the sample required is paired sera. This test shows rise in JE specific antibody. How to control Japanese encephalitis? For controlling, we can prefer vaccination. It is essential to vaccinate the population at risk, and in India about 375 million population is at risk of Japanese encephalitis. Currently, 3 vaccines are available for vaccination purpose. First vaccine is mouse brain derived. It is inactivated vaccine. Second vaccine is cell culture derived vaccine. It is also inactivated vaccine. And the third vaccine which is available, it is also cell culture derived vaccine, but it is life attenuated vaccine. So out of these 3 vaccines, 2 vaccines are inactivated. Out of these 2, one is mouse brain derived and second is cell culture derived. And third vaccine is life attenuated vaccine, which is cell culture derived. Mouse brain derived vaccine, it is used successfully in different countries. There are 2 drawbacks associated with use of mouse brain derived vaccines. It includes limited duration of protection, so multiple doses or multiple applications are required. And second drawback is its price. In majority of countries, this vaccine is costly. Therefore, cell culture derived vaccines are preferred for vaccination purpose. Let's see immunization schedule. If we are using mouse brain derived vaccine, it includes administration of 2 primary doses and 1 booster dose, followed by subsequent booster doses after every 3 years. This vaccine is given subcutaneously and its dose is 0.5 ml for the children below 3 years of age, and its dose is 1 ml for the children above 3 years of age. So if you are immunizing a child less than 3 years of age and you are using mouse brain derived vaccine, you will give 0.5 ml subcutaneously, and if the age of child is about 3 years, you will give 1 ml dose subcutaneously. 2 primary doses you are supposed to give. So after administration of first dose, the time interval should be kept is about 4 weeks, and after 4 weeks second primary dose should be given. This second primary dose, it should get followed by first booster, which is given after 1 year, and subsequently after every 3 years we are supposed to give booster doses till the child reaches up to the age of 10 years to 15 years. The protective immunity, it develops in about 1 month after second dose of this vaccine. This vaccine, it is preferably used during inter-epidemic period, and it should be given to most vulnerable and high-risk groups. What is immunization schedule for cell culture derived life attenuated vaccine? For this, single dose is administered, and this single dose, it should get followed by 1 booster dose, which is given after the period of 1 year. Thus, if we are using cell culture derived live attenuated vaccine, immunization schedule, it includes administration of 1 primary dose and it is followed by 1 booster dose. This vaccine is available in India and it is used in 83 endemic districts in Uttar Pradesh, Assam, West Bengal, Karnataka. And for vaccination, the age group which is targeted is between 1 to 15 years children. JE vaccine, it is not recommended up to the age of 6 months. This is because maternal antibodies, they interfere with the protective effect of JE vaccine. Remember, JE vaccine, it is not recommended for infants up to the age of 6 months. Let's see the details of Japanese encephalitis immunization as per the recommendations under NIS, that is National Immunization Schedule. Under NIS, this vaccine, it is given between 9 to 12 months of age. Maximum age up to which JE vaccine can be given is 15 years. Remember, upper age limit for administration of JE vaccine is 15 years. Its dose is 0.5 ml. This vaccine is available in dried form and a diluent is provided by manufacturer. So it is important to reconstitute the vaccine before administration, and we are supposed to administer reconstituted vaccine. This vaccine is given subcutaneously and it should be given in upper arm. Left arm is preferred for vaccination. What are the guidelines for vaccination of travelers? For travelers above the age of 1 year, if the travelers they are traveling to areas where JE is endemic, vaccination is essential. The recommendation includes administration of 3 primary doses. These doses can be given on day 0, day 7 and day 28. The alternative schedule, it includes administration of 2 primary doses and the dose interval should be 4 weeks. So give first dose of JE vaccine and after 4 weeks give second dose of JE vaccine. Depending upon the stay of duration or if continued protection is required, the booster dosage should be given after 1 year and then after every 3 years. The next control measure, it includes vector control. You know the vector mosquito, it's Culex mosquito. It is important to control Culex mosquito in our surrounding. For this purpose, we can use insecticides like malathion, phenytothion. Space spraying activities using these insecticides should be carried out in those areas where JE is endemic or in those villages which are infected with JE. Here I mean to say the villagers, if they are suffering from Japanese encephalitis, in such villages spraying activity should be carried out and it should cover the radius of 2 to 3 kilometers of infected village. The most effective personal protective measure, it includes use of mosquito nets, which provides better protection. The most important control measure of JE, it includes early detection of cases and appropriate treatment of cases of JE. Currently, we follow the guidelines for management of AES, that is acute encephalitis syndrome. These guidelines are given in the year 2014. For early diagnosis of cases, the diagnostic criteria, it depends on laboratory investigations. So serological tests must be carried out for early detection of cases, and after detection, appropriate treatment should be done as per the management guidelines given in the year 2014. Case definition of suspected case, it includes there is acute onset of fever, the duration of fever, it is less than 7 days. There is change in mental state and there may be or may not be presence of seizures. Here we are supposed to exclude febrile seizures. In addition, patient may show abnormal behavior or there can be irritability or somnolence, that is excessive sleepiness, a case presenting to you with febrile illness of duration less than 1 week, showing altered behavior or abnormal behavior, showing presence of seizures, and you have excluded that these are not febrile seizures, patient is irritable, patient is excessive sleepy, we can say that this is suspected case of AES. The cases are classified as laboratory confirmed case and probable case. The meaning of laboratory confirmed case is a suspected case if it is showing any of the following things, like there is presence of IgM antibody when we have taken the serum sample or CSF sample, or there is fourfold rise in IgG antibody titer if we have taken paired sera, or there is virus isolation from brain tissue on immunofluorescence test if there is a detection of antigen, and PCR test if it is positive for nucleic acid detection. Thus, a suspected case showing either fourfold rise in IgG antibody titer or showing presence of IgM antibody, or if PCR test is positive or virus isolation test is positive or antigen detection test is positive on immunofluorescence, we can call it as laboratory confirmed case. Probable case, it is suspected case in close geographic area to a laboratory confirmed case of either AES or JE. The other terminologies includes AES, that is acute encephalitis syndrome due to other agent, or AES due to unknown agent. AES due to other agent means a suspected case in which diagnostic testing is done and the etiological agent which is identified is other than JE or it is other than AES. The next term is AES due to unknown agent. It means a suspected case in which diagnostic testing is not performed and etiological agent is not identified. For a practical purpose, two definitions are used. It includes suspected JE cases and confirmed JE cases. Acute encephalitis syndrome may occur due to different etiological factors. These etiological factors we can say one is Japanese encephalitis. The other causes we can categorize as non-Japanese encephalitis viral causes, and the third part where we can include other etiological agents which can produce acute encephalitis syndrome. Thus, infection with JE virus, it may result in acute encephalitis syndrome. Non-JE viral causes, it includes West Nile encephalitis. West Nile encephalitis, it is mainly found in North America, and another important one is tick-borne encephalitis. Acute encephalitis syndrome may occur due to enteroviruses, and these enteroviruses we can classify as polioviruses and non-polioviruses. Non-polioviruses, it further includes Coxsackie A and Coxsackie B virus and ecoviruses. Thus, infection with Coxsackie viruses or ecoviruses can also lead to acute encephalitis syndrome. The other most important causes, it includes infection with dengue viruses, or infection with herpes viruses, or infection with varicella zoster viruses. The non-viral causes for AES, it includes protozoal infection like amoebiasis, or it's malaria, specifically it's cerebral malaria, or it can be spirochetal infections like syphilis, trypanosomiasis, or acute tubercular meningitis, or sometimes bacterial infections, fungal infections like cryptococcal infections can cause acute encephalitis syndrome. How to manage these cases of acute encephalitis syndrome? Management for acute encephalitis syndrome and Japanese encephalitis is same, and it is mainly symptomatic management. Important aim of managing the cases of AES or JE is to reduce mortality and to reduce morbidity. As we said, neurodeficits can be seen in majority of cases, so to reduce these neurological deficits is one of the important aim in the treatment of AES. The management criteria for treatment of AES cases or JE cases, it mainly includes appropriate education of those health workers which are working at grassroots level. So it is very important to educate these people regarding the first line management of AES or JE so that morbidity and mortality can be reduced. These grassroots level workers, or these workers which are working at peripheral level at different health centers, they must be educated regarding identification of early warning signs of these patients. And once these patients are identified, they should be referred to appropriate health facility for further management. Let's see the treatment guidelines for AES, which is due to Japanese encephalitis. The basic treatment guidelines at community level, it includes management of the fever. For this, tap water sponging can be done, or antipyretic drug like paracetamol can be given. As we said, majority of cases of Japanese encephalitis, they may present with convulsions, and for convulsions, anticonvulsant drugs can be used. To prevent aspiration, proper position should be given to the patient. This position includes prone or semi-prone position. Head of the patient should be turned to one side, and if required, oxygen should be given and suction should be done. It is very essential to prevent aspiration in these cases, specifically presenting with convulsions. It is important to monitor these cases appropriately, and during monitoring of these cases, if there is lethargy, or if the patient becomes unconscious, if patient develops repeated convulsions, or if you can find other things like there is development of paralysis, or there is a rash, or on examination if you find there is hepatomegaly or there is splenomegaly, these things are considered as danger signs. I repeat, danger signs once again. Fever, whenever fever is associated with any of these features like lethargy, unconsciousness, convulsions, or paralysis, or hepatomegaly, splenomegaly, or development of a rash. What should be done in such a situation? If danger signs are observed, it is important to refer these cases, and these cases can be referred to FRU. The FRU which is located to nearby area, at such FRUs the patient should be referred. FRU, it means first referral unit. What are the treatment guidelines for management of cases of AES or JE at FRU? Here, the cases can be treated with suction. Oxygen is essential, that should be given. Intravenous fluids should be given. Blood sugar should be checked and it should be regulated. For controlling convulsions, anticonvulsant drugs can be given by intravenous routes. It is essential to catheterize the patient. Since there is encephalitis, there is inflammation of brain tissues, mannitol can be used for the treatment of such cases. For controlling fever, paracetamol can be given by parenteral route, and it is very essential to avoid fluid overload. For this purpose, the input and urine output chart should be maintained. For treatment at FRU, we said fluid maintenance. Simultaneously, attention should be paid to input and output chart, appropriate monitoring of the patient, which includes monitoring of TPR-BP, that is temperature, pulse, respiratory rate and blood pressure. The treatment, it mainly includes suction. If required, oxygen should be given. It is important to catheterize the patients. So catheterization is one of the important part of management. And as far as drugs is concerned, anticonvulsant drugs, antipyretic drugs can be used, and the most important drug that is required for treatment of these cases, it includes mannitol. While monitoring these cases or while monitoring TPR-BP, it is very essential to monitor these cases for development of further danger signs. It is essential to see if these patients, they develop the danger signs like shock, or there is hypotension, or if they are developing dyspnea, which suggests requirement of artificial ventilation, or there is cyanosis. All these are the things that should be monitored. I repeat, whether the patients are developing hypotension, whether there is dyspnea, or whether there is cyanosis, development of all these signs are considered as danger signs, and in such cases the patient may require referral to tertiary hospital. There is possibility that AES may occur due to other causes like malaria, like varicella, or it can be herpes zoster, tubercular meningitis, toxoplasmosis, or it can be amoebiasis, or even there can be neurocysticercosis. What should be done in such cases? If AES occurs due to these causes, appropriate specific treatment should be given for such cases. Let's try to recall what things we discussed in today's lecture. The topic is Japanese encephalitis. It is vector-borne disease caused by group B arbovirus or flavivirus, transmitted by bites of infected Culex mosquito, and clinically it is characterized by encephalitis. What age group is commonly affected In Japanese encephalitis, this disease mainly affects children below 15 years of age, and it affects people above 60 years of age, that is elderly population. As in elderly population, protective immunity is waning, occurrence of JE can be seen at this age group. The outbreaks of Japanese encephalitis, they are reported, and these outbreaks mainly affects the children between 2 to 15 years of age group. In India, Japanese encephalitis, it is found in endemic form. There are 21 states where Japanese encephalitis distribution pattern is endemic. About 375 million Indian population is at risk of JE. Japanese encephalitis, it is important problem in Uttar Pradesh, Assam, Bihar, Karnataka and other states. The causative agent is JE virus. This is flavivirus. It is arbovirus, that is it is arthropod borne virus. Important arthropod involved in transmission of JE virus is mosquito. The tribe is Culicin and the genus is Culex. In nature, we can find two different cycles of transmission. One cycle is pig, mosquito and pig. Second cycle is arid bird, mosquito and arid bird. Here we can say JE virus, it can affect human host as well as it can affect extra human hosts. These extra human hosts, they are mainly animals like pigs, cattle, buffaloes or horses. And birds, these birds are mainly arid birds, that is the birds having long legs and long neck, which mainly includes pond herons, cattle egrets, poultry and ducks. What is the amplifier host for JE virus? Don't forget, the amplifier host for JE virus is pig. From these pigs, virus gets transmitted to mosquitoes, and these mosquitoes, they can transmit the virus again to pigs. Similarly, the cycle can be maintained between bird, mosquito and bird. How humans gets infected? Humans, they are incidental hosts. Humans may get infected by bites of infected Culex mosquitoes like Culex tritaniorhynchus, Culex vishnui or Culex gallidus. Incubation period varies from 5 days to 15 days and majority of cases are inapparent. The clinically apparent cases, they may show 3 stages: prodromal stage, acute encephalitic stage and late stage and sequelae. For diagnosis, most commonly used test, it includes serological test where we detect IgM antibodies. For controlling Japanese encephalitis, 3 types of vaccines are available. 2 vaccines are inactivated and 1 is live attenuated vaccine. Mouse brain derived vaccine, it is inactivated vaccine, and cell culture derived vaccines, which includes 1 is inactivated and other one is live attenuated vaccine. Immunization schedule differs depending upon the type of vaccine which we are using for immunization. In India, we give single dose of this vaccine at the age of 9 months or up to 12 months, but a maximum upper age limit is 15 years of age. The dose is administered subcutaneously in left upper arm and the dose given is 0.5 ml. Remember, before administering vaccine, it is essential to reconstitute the vaccine. Following administration of JE vaccine, Near about 20% of vaccinee, they may show low-grade fever, myalgia or gastrointestinal upset. Very rarely, after vaccination, few vaccinee may show neurologic events and they may show encephalitis or encephalopathy or peripheral neuropathy. Japanese encephalitis, it is reported under umbrella of acute encephalitis syndrome. And for practical purpose, the cases are classified as suspected JE cases and confirmed JE cases. Acute encephalitis syndrome may occur due to viral infections or due to non-viral infections. Viral infections are again classified into JE viral infection and non-JE viral infections. Non-JE viral infections, it mainly includes West Nile fever, tick-borne encephalitis, dengue, herpes, varicella, and other causes. It includes malaria, amoebiasis, toxoplasmosis, trypanosomiasis, bacterial meningitis, fungal infections which is caused due to cryptococcus, etc. And accordingly, the management of these cases should be done. So whenever AES, it occurs either due to malaria or tubercular meningitis or amoebiasis or neurocysticercosis or syphilis, these cases should be given a specific treatment according to the diagnosis. And if AES, it occurs due to Japanese encephalitis at community level, at a primary healthcare level, the management criteria, it includes sponging using tap water, administration of antipyretic drug, administration of anticonvulsant drug, and appropriate position should be given to the patient to avoid aspiration. Simultaneously, the workers which are working at grassroots level, they should be educated to identify the danger signs like lethargy, unconsciousness, convulsions or paralysis or hepatosplenomegaly. And if these signs are seen, the patient should be referred to first FRU. Now at first FRU, the management criteria, it includes intravenous fluid management, oxygen, suction, catheterization of the patient, use of drugs like paracetamol or mannitol, and simultaneously appropriate monitoring is essential to identify further danger signs like hypotensive shock or cyanosis. And if these signs are observed, patient should be referred to tertiary care level. In India, the healthcare system, it includes 3 levels: primary level, secondary level and tertiary level. Primary level, it mainly includes sub-centers. Secondary levels, it includes community health centers, and tertiary level, it includes medical college hospitals. Thus, for controlling, attention should be paid to vaccination of at-risk population, appropriate management of the cases, early detection of the cases, and most important thing is controlling the vector mosquito in our surrounding. It's about Japanese encephalitis. Thanks for watching this video.